Hi, I'm Ramya. I'm a researcher at the French National Center for Scientific Research, and I'm also with the Open Knowledge Foundation. I work on legal and governance strategies for digital commons with a particular emphasis on sustainability. So I'm going to try and answer this question with a focus on data, since what I focus on a lot is how do we ensure responsible reuse of data by governing it as a commons. So in today's paradigm of large general purpose models, they're extremely data intensive. And the dominant trajectory of AI building is basically to take all of the data that is available on the internet, scrape it, get it somehow, don't care what rights you violate in the process, and use it to train models. But I think there are really interesting examples of trying to build alternate data sets that are built more responsibly with an eye to justice and fairness, and try to use these data sets instead to build smaller, more purpose-specific models. So for instance, one example is a data set of only data from the public domain, which is data for whom copyright has completely lapsed or which has been donated to the public domain by creative content creators. Eleuther AI created a big data set using just these types of data elements that they obtained from the internet. And then they trained a bunch of models. This data set is called the Common Pile. They trained a bunch of models on it called the Pile models, for instance. And this illustrates a responsible way of sourcing data and then using that data to build a purpose-specific model, which is, in their case, it was an English language LLM, for instance. And these, I think, are interesting examples of building AI models differently from a data perspective. Another example, given that, again, right now, there's a real emphasis on trying to build multilingual AI models, especially models that can receive prompts and respond to prompts in non-majority languages. Some communities call them low-resource languages, but I'm not too fond of that framing. It's a framing of power, right? Like, who calls something low-resource? But there are, for instance, in Africa, in South America, communities, linguistic communities who have historically spoken and safeguarded their local languages, coming together to build language data sets where they are crowdsourcing audio snippets, text snippets, they're digitizing their archives, they're building machine-readable language data sets in that language. And they're also attaching conditions on who gets to use this data to build what kinds of models, in a way to prevent big tech from taking all of this data and making proprietary models, and as a way to incentivize local players like local industry or even local governments to use this data to build, again, context-specific models like chatbots in local languages, for instance. And so this, again, are examples of how communities are realizing the value of the data that they produce and the data that they hold, and they're trying to set the terms of how they want this data to be used for AI development. So. Yeah, so I think a couple of things. I think one is the question you asked me before itself, right? Is that, are there alternatives to building AI models differently? Yes, these are examples that prove that. On the flip side though, are these models, are they going to be able to displace the big tech way of doing things? At the moment, perhaps no. They need a lot more support, they need a lot more attention. Yeah, there's small community-run initiatives, and so to put the burden on them to scale like a big tech company is also not realistic, for instance. So these are kinds of two takeaways, that examples exist, but we need to kind of work together to put all of these different alternate ways of building AI in touch with each other, right? So build maybe South-South networks, for instance, for knowledge transfers, to build repositories of these different kinds of initiatives that exist across the world, and use that kind of horizontal networking as a way for these initiatives to scale and then mount a significant challenge to the big tech ways of doing things. I think at the first instance, it's worth asking what exactly do we mean by the local when we want the local to be integrated into the process of AI development? In the community lab that I'm part of right now at this conference, for instance, it's the community lab on this question, on how do we build AI models that are tailored for the local context. As a principle that we all agreed on is the fact that when an AI model or an AI technology is being built, everybody who is affected by the use of that technology needs to necessarily be involved in technology, right? So for instance, if it's the integration of AI in public services, like in India, for instance, to determine entitlement to welfare or to do fraud detection in the delivery of welfare services, etc., the entirety of the public is affected by that kind of digitization of public services. And so therefore, the entirety of the public needs to be involved when decisions are made about building these technologies and integrating them into public services, which doesn't happen right now. So that level of participative plurality, that level of consultation from the design stage is what's necessary. But of course, this is really easy to say and really difficult to do. And therefore, in terms of, okay, concretely, what do we need to enable more participation of different kinds of publics, different kinds of communities in the development of AI? Yeah, I mean, this is, honestly, I don't know how to answer this. We need, on the one hand, of course, more proactive states, proactive governments that take a commitment to participative plurality seriously. And we also need regulatory guardrails on big tech to kind of to show people that there is an option outside of the products that big tech provides you, to make consumers, not just consumers, but to kind of show them that there is a way for them to be involved in the design of technologies beyond just consuming them as passive recipients, because that's the dominant model. And so these kinds of regulatory actions, I think, could be useful. They could trickle down, but yeah, none of this is immediate. I think it all needs a lot of time and a lot of commitment. So I don't think it's a very good response, but it's a difficult question.